Tales from the Heartland by Melissa Albert, read to you by Blessing Cassipe. Chapter 1. The Door That Was There. There was once a rich merchant who lived at the edge of the wood in a tiny town in the Heartland. Though he spent most of his days traveling, he was at home long enough to give his wife 2 daughters, the eldest dark and the youngest golden, born 1 year apart. Their father was distant and their mother was strange, often shutting herself up in her room for hours. Her daughters could hear her speak to someone when they pressed their ears to the door, but only the eldest, Anya, ever made out an answer. The voice she heard was so thin and rustling she could almost believe it was leaves against the window. On a winter's day, when Anya was 16, their mother locked her door and did not open it again. After 3 days, the servant broke it down and found an empty room. The windows were shut, winter howled outside, and the woman, well, she was gone. But she left something behind, on the floor, in a puddle of blood, a bone dagger. Anya heard the servant whisper about it, and crept into the room to see for herself. The stain she found on the floor infected her with horror of blood, so fearsome she took to wash out her monthly rugs in the dark. The servant sent word to the girl's father that his wife was dead, or gone, or worse. And for a time heard no reply, until the first warm day of spring, when he drove up to the house in an unfamiliar carriage. Inside, it was the girl's new mother. In silk slippers clinging to their father's arm, she stepped out onto the cobblestone. She was smaller than Anya, with a heap of pale hair and blue eyes that switched coldly from one stepdaughter to the next. For half a year, their father stayed home, bestowed with his new wife and tolerated his children. They ran as wild as they had, accustomed by then to raise himself, and thought very little of their new stepmother. But their father grew bored of the women in the end, as he once grew bored of their mother. As he always been bored of his daughter, on that day, he kissed his new wife goodbye, nodded at his daughter, and was gone. Now their stepmother had the run of the house and of her stepdaughters. Whether she was bored or whether she was wicked, it came out to the same thing in the end. First, she snapped at the daughters, demanding they stay close by her. Then she pushed them away, slapping them at the slightest provocation, carrying scissors in her pocket to cut off hanks of their long hair. When she left the house, she locked them up, to keep them from misbehaving, she says. But she kept them in their mother's room, when the windows were wrapped shut, and the stain on the floor taunted Anya like a vile black mouth. Their mother's bed had been chopped into firewood after her disappearance. All the pretty objects she surrounded herself with sold or locked away. The girls rattled like seeds around the empty room, avoiding the poisonous blood on the floor. At first, the stepmother stayed away for a few hours, then whole days, then entire nights. The first time she left them locked up from dusk to the next. Anya beat on the room and screamed until her throat and fist were raw. But no one came. When the stepmother finally opened the door, she wrinkled her nose at the smell and gestured at the chamber pot. "Empty it," she says. Coal and rugged melted into the candy swirls on her cheek. She wouldn't meet her stepdaughter's eyes. There came a day where she locked them in with a bowl of apples and a jug of water, not come back. The sun rose and fell, rose and fell. On the third day, Anya looked out the window and saw the servants walking down the lane, their belongings at the back. The house was empty. The apples were eaten, the water long gone. The window wouldn't open and the glass wouldn't shatter, even when Anya smashed at it with her boot. The night the sisters lay together in the middle of the floor, trying to keep each other warm. Lisbeth was sunk in shallow sleep when Anya heard a sound she nearly forgotten. The sound like leaves rustling together outside an unlatched window. It came from the bloodstain on the floor. Slowly she inched her way towards it, resting her ears just over it, and holding her breath. It was deep, deep in the night, and the western resolved into her voice. He will die, the voice told her. Anya rolled away, angry. I know, she replied fiercely in her mind. Half dead already. He will die, the voice said. Unless. And she told her how she could save herself and her sister. How she could remake the world just enough so that they could live. When the sun rose, Anya was terrified. Her mother was dead. She was gone. She was mad at filled her with a terror that felt like flying border without an end. She swallowed the bitter taste of the lie and took the bold knife from the place the voice told her to find it. Behind a leaf forest inside the fireplace. The blood can be mine, she said, because I'm the soldier. Must be the thing that you must. What for it? Sweeter, Elizabeth said nothing as her sister took her wrist and used it to paint a door. She painted the side of it first in two continuous lines, scraping Elizabeth's wrist across the stone. She lifted the girl as high as she could to paint a lantern over the top. When Anya eased her back on her feet, Elizabeth was as white as the flesh of an apple. Anya turned away from her sister's flat face and said the words that would make the blood turn. Words the voice had said into her ear. 3 times, said she. All at once, the stone wicked up the blood. The newly made door swung towards them, letting out a breath of warm air. The sun looked through cotton. They held hands and watched it open. Anna's eyes went to where the stain on the floor should be. In its place was a pool of bright blood, freshly shed. She limped across the room, still holding her sister's body. The hall behind her was left inside of her, and the lantern was her eyes were charred, her eyes were cold, and her mouth were The door opened to death. It took 2 hours, but she dug deeply enough into the burnt earth to bury her sister. Then she set off towards town to see if she could find anything living. Town was a place of strange odors, not a body to be seen. Just a heavy sky that made the whole world. It lighted the colored disease, a locked house, and windows painted a blind black. Anya grieved and wondered, but never breathed. She needed neither sleep, nor food, nor drink. And when she ran the bone knife over her own wrist, her skin. In desperation, she scaled the vines, spilling over the walls of a cottage, hoisted herself onto the crumbled gray shingles of its roof. From there, she jumped. She drifted to earth like an autumn leaf, touching down unharmed. Like a sigh, the tree dropped 3 walnuts in her hand. She cracked them open, one by one. The first held a Satan dress the color of moth's wings. The second held the The third held a translucent stone the size of an eye. When she peered through the stone, the world around her carriage was bearing down. The driver didn't see her, but the weird goose high over the Indian's head. She dropped the stone and turned to her feet. Now she was still into the window out to the wind below. She went Anya waited until the green light had faded to mark the night in the trees. She felt she combed back her heavy hair, then she raised the stone to her eye. She saw her home as she was doing when she was a girl with her mother, her father, and a sister named Elizabeth. She held the stone in place like people circling the house and looking into its window. In one candlelight room, she saw a beautiful woman playing the piano. Her father drinking a glass of sherry, his hair lined with gray, and a boy just older than her. He was tall and nearer, grown into manhood, but not yet there. Anna's father looked at him proudly, clapping a hand to his shoulder. The boy's gaze roved ideally over the room and his mother at the piano before landing on Anya. Frowning, he moved to the window, leaning a string back as her father joined his son. The boy pointed out. The father looked past her, shaking his head. Finally, he pulled the curtains close. Anya waited in the garden, her dress the color of willow whips. When she lowered her arm, she stood in a place of rotten berries and bone. When she raised the stone back to her eye, she could see the soft grass and the brief starlight of fireflies. She could see the one walking closer, his step tension in his big feet. They actually uncomfortable. It has to be the right one. Who are you? Why did they see you? She said sadly. Why did they see you? How can I get you to stay? He asked. She smiled and put her mouth to his ear. She told me that they could be together. How you can make the world just enough space so she could stay beside him. It would take blood. She taught him words to say, repeated them 3 times so he would remember. She pressed her bone knife into his hand, and she watched as he slid through the wrist of the door off his wrist. Using it to pin a door, he swayed as he spoke 2 words. His face, a mirror of his father's story. Blood turned into water, and glowed with wicked blue light at the seams. Annie had dropped the stone from her eyes as he swung the door. The war disappeared, and the light turned into the warm golden lamp on the phone. As Annie walked through the door, she could feel the faintest blush of her half-brother stepping past her into her lifeless place. Then she was there in her father's house, alive. And Beth didn't feel cheated because she traded her one prisoner for another. She left the stone just long enough to peek through it, and the boy standing in her place, his face terrified before pinning her pocket. She went to the kitchen and ate a spoonful of honey, wolfed of fistfuls of meat, then wine ran down her chin. Then she climbed the stairs to her father's bedroom, where he lay sleeping next to his wife. She left the bone knife she snatched back from the lost boy, twitching where it lay against her breast. She didn't cut her father's throat, she cut his wife's. She laid the stone in the dead woman's hand, where her father would be sure to find it, and hold it to his eyes to see the man with the crush beside his own. The sun will call to him always.